Hi, I want to talk to you about if consistency was the key to success and not talent. I mean, I don't have any scientific proof or any historic thing. It's only my own life, how I became like a world-class athlete really late in life, when lots of people already retired. In the 2015-16 season, I wanted to qualify for the Ironman World Championship in Hawaii. And after Ironman Wales in September 2015, I placed third, and I was in a really good position for qualifying. And then, suddenly, on January 5th, my employee told me she wanted to sell her pharmacy to me that year. I mean, I had already made plans about racing and had booked flights to South Africa at the end of January and at the end of April, and she said, I want to sell the pharmacy this year. And I kind of think, that's not how I planned it. So since we had no schedule at the time, I thought maybe I can have both, qualify for Hawaii, race there, and own the pharmacy as well at the end of the year. I mean, she knew about my Hawaii plans. Well, life doesn't never go as planned, so at the end of January, I got sick and I had to cancel the first race of the season. So the chances on qualifying got less, but still possible. By February, we knew about how much the pharmacy store is going to cost, so my husband and I set out to see experts on how much the pharmacy would be worth and see the bank, talk about the credit and insurances and the tax accountant, just the things you do when you're trying to buy it or when you're wanting to buy a business. So meanwhile, doing all those things, going to work, I also trained for Ironman South Africa in April. About 2 weeks before the race, I had scheduled my last major workout. But since we were short on players that morning, I went into work in the morning, then came home, scheduled a 6-hour bike ride. I did that, and then I wanted to do another 10K run on top of that. And, well, it was not 10K, it was only 5K, because I stumbled and hit the ground really bad. My hand was hurting, and I couldn't even run home, so I had to call my husband to pick me up. Well, it turned out I had broken my ring finger and my middle hand, and I needed surgery to put in pins, and I had to wear a plaster cast for 7 weeks. So I had to cancel the next race. So this is not a good thing if you want to qualify, because you have to gather points and have to be on top of the world ranking to get to the World Championship. Well, even though I'm right-handed, I still went to work for the next 7 weeks, and I mean, I could go work if I want to train, so I wanted to keep training, so I decided I have to go to work as well. I did some running, and as you can see, I did some cycling. I mean, I couldn't go outdoors, so I had to do it indoors. And during that time, my employee and I, we met for negotiations for the pharmacy store once. And since we didn't get any results, we postponed it to the next meeting to the middle of May. But then on Friday the 13th, one day after the pins had gone out of my hand, my employee came to me and said, well, I don't want to sell my pharmacy store anymore. That's not going to happen this year, and maybe not in the next 5 years. I was really devastated at that moment. I had not seen this coming, and I didn't know what to feel. It was a weekend, and I cried a lot, but then I thought, well, I don't have to wear the plaster cast anymore, so I went on training, and then on a weekend I decided I quit the job and go and try to qualify for Hawaii and try to do an Ironman in 7 weeks' time. So is it possible to do an Ironman with only 7 weeks of preparation, if I'm talking about consistency as a key to success? I mean, 7 weeks is not a long time, and especially it's not consistent work. Well, it's not been 7 weeks, it has been 30 years of consistent work. At the age of 7, I started swimming, and I got delegated to sports school after 4th grade in the former GDR, and you can see the pool and the thing we trained on. And well, from there on, I trained twice a day, so that was when I was 11 years old, twice a day, and we logged lots of kilometers of swimming. And then, at the age of 16, I stopped swimming competitively. What has happened? I swam 3 years in a row, the 400 free and 448. I did not improve 1 single second. So I thought, I don't have any talent to become a world-class athlete. Especially if you see Franziska von Almsick, she is the same age as I was, and she swam world record, and I kept staying on that 448. I mean, you think that's really fast. It is not, if you're a swimmer. However, by that time, I did not know anything about the 10-hour rule, Pareto's principle, and deliberate practice. What I know now, if I had it known back then, I would not have stopped swimming, because with all the work we did swim in a group, and with the group dynamics, it's really not what you need in one person. So after I stopped swimming, I went to see the world. That meant I went to Omaha, Nebraska to spend 1 high school year there, and it was a great experience, and I actually got back on track liking sports again, and I wanted to train and compete again. But since I had stopped swimming before I went to the US, they didn't want me to be back on the team. So I had the option of swimming twice in the evening and during the week. And this was not enough. I mean, I had gained weight during the stay, just as a lot of exchange students do. Well, everything is a little bigger over there. And then I started to run, and just to get fit and lose weight. And at the local run race, I got casted by the triathletes, and so I joined the triathlon team and trained for my first triathlon 1 year. I mean, it was a sprint distance back then, but I still trained 1 year before I actually went to the start line. And it was a mind-changing experience, because I got first off the water. It's kind of like I had not won a race in 5 or 6 years, and then I won that swim part. That was really great. I mean, I got passed on the bike, it's not that good, but run myself back into first place. So there is my first triathlon, and I already won. You can imagine, I was really hooked, and it was just a sweet taste of victory, and the thing, it ain't over till it's over. So I stayed with triathlon. Only 1 year later, I qualified for European Championship, for Juniors European Championship, and came out of the water first again, and I placed eventually 10th at the end. A few weeks after that, German championships were scheduled, and due to the lack of training and experience, I did not finish that race, which meant I would not be part of the national team, because to the coaches I would seem like a one-hit wonder, because I would outgrow the juniors. And back then there was no under 23, so it was juniors or adults, and then kind of like, well, what we do with her, well, we don't care. So I started to study pharmacy in October '98, and with the experience of my mom being unemployed in most of the 1990s, despite being a programmer, I mean, nowadays a programmer is kind of like, yeah, come on, we got a job for you. But back then, she didn't find any. So education was the most important task to me. So I went to college to university to study pharmacy, and triathlon was just a nice hobby to have at that moment. And I started to coach myself from there on. So I learned everything through try and error. During my college time, I still wanted to qualify for European champs, but I never worked out again. I raced a few European Cups, but usually got dropped on the bike, so my swimming and running strength would not pay off. In 2002, my now husband, but then back boyfriend, raced at the Ironman World Championship in Hawaii, and I got to go with him and saw the race. And it was so exciting and motivating. I mean, if you compare it to tennis, it's the Wimbledon. Hawaii is just the race to be. And so I set up for the next year to race a an Ironman, try to qualify for Hawaii. And well, I did. My first race, I did 10 hours and 39 minutes at Ironman Switzerland. It put me barely an hour behind the first woman across the line, but since I raced as an amateur, I still qualified. And then in September, I passed my final examinations at university, and in October, I became vice world champion in the age group. So this was actually totally unbelievable to me, because the year before, I was not able to finish an Olympic distance, which takes about 2 hours on race, and also had, like in 2 weeks' time, failed the last course at university. So my world had broken the year before, and I rose just above it. It felt like it. So in 2004, I raced another time in Hawaii, placing second in the age group again, and then I decided, well, give it a try to race as a professional athlete. Since I had finished my studies, I could go on and work part-time as a pharmacist, so my income was taken care of, and enjoy racing around the world. But the racing didn't go that well as I had planned. I only finished one race in 2 years, and it was in Wisconsin, and it took me 12 hours and 46 minutes, 2 hours lower than in my first ever Ironman. But nonetheless, 1 year later, in 2007, I qualified as a professional athlete for Hawaii. I placed 7th at Ironman Lake Place, not 7th, 11th at Ironman Lake Placid. But the bad thing about it, I qualified as a professional athlete, but didn't get any prize money because they only paid 10 deep. So that's not really being a professional athlete, I mean. So in 2008, the biggest change to our life came. Our daughter was born. And so we had to change our training system, and we now went on using power meters on the bike, bought a swim ergometer to supplement time in the pool so we don't have to go to the pool and work at home. And 11 months after the birth, I was back racing Ironman. But the first Ironman, I underestimated the cost of the breastfeeding. I still did. Swim was good, bike had never been better than that day. I was in a hunt for the 10-hour mark to beat, but I ended up in the medical tent because I did not eat enough. My husband, who is doing Ironman as well, did a much better job one week later. He had missed the year before 9 hours when we still not have any kids and have full time to train, the 9-hour mark by 2 minutes. And then when we did not have that much time to train, he still improved, even though he'd not been pregnant. Because usually people say the pregnancy makes you fast. He got faster not being pregnant. And he beat that 9-hour mark that day. I had the almost perfect race only 2 months later. At the Ironman Barcelona, I did 9 hours and 23 minutes, improving my personal best by 57 minutes. And I got my first prize money. So all the people silenced that had told me, go back, race as an amateur, you're not going to make it as a professional athlete, and you will never ever get to go fast enough on your bike. Now, this was gone. So next year, I tried to qualify for Hawaii on the professionals again, and I missed it by 17 seconds. But since I don't like any what-ifs, actually, I set up for another Ironman 4 weeks later. Swim was okay, just as usual. I mean, being a swimmer, it's not going to happen much. On the bike, I had a flat tire, lost 10 minutes on that course, and then I thought, well, I have to make up those 10 minutes. So I started to run really fast, and I wanted to catch the girl ahead of me. I was making progress, picked up 5 minutes, but then my body went into strike. I kind of like, my mind wanted to go fast, but it's not a good idea to burn all your calories right in the beginning. I suffered from diarrhea and had to drop out. Since life goes on, we had another child in October 2011. And I resigned my job at the pharmacy to chase the dream to qualify for Hawaii again, which I did. I raced 7 Ironmans and 5 half Ironmans in the 2013-14 season, and I qualified for Hawaii, and I raced there. So we're now in 2014, so I got, after the Hawaii qualification, I got back to the job, and you know what happened at the pharmacy store. So now we're back on 2016, and still on the question, is it possible to do a real good Ironman, which takes about 9 hours of intense racing with life on a roller coaster in the last 6 months? Well, here I am, 2 days after my 38th birthday, at the start line of the Ironman Frankfurt European Championship. The weather is pretty cold. We have 11 degrees outside temperature and barely 20 degrees on the water. We did swim, and the swim was slow as expected. I did not have enough training, and I had goosebumps the whole swim, but I didn't mind because I didn't feel cold. Out of the water into transition, I put on a dry jersey just to stay warm, because I knew I'd rather lose 2 minutes here than freeze on the bike. On the bike, I put on an energy bar right into my body because I need more energy when it's cold out there. I was still chewing the energy bar, and then there was Daniela Reeve, the reigning world champion, on the side of the road. It turned out she did freeze too much and put not enough clothes on. To me, she was out of the race, and then I thought, well, it's a whole new race. Now everybody can win. So I enjoyed the bike ride, and at the end of the bike, in the last hour, we had headwinds, and I actually put on the strongest hour was the last one, because I saved my energy thinking there's a long bike ride. 180K is going to take you more than 5 hours. You don't need to hurry. The plan was for the run to go out slow. What's going to happen when you get downtown at Frankfurt and thousands of people are cheering? You get out of transition and you run fast. So here, my husband again, he kept me updating on the deficits, and I saw him, I kind of like, well, hang on, I wanted to run slower. So I settled down on a decent pace, fast, but I still felt as I could run it forever. And he told me I was 5 minutes away from 5th place. The 5th place would have put me back in the game for the Hawaii qualification. So I kept going slow. So after 10K, I had made up like 1 minute, and I just kept the self-talk, be patient, your time is going to come, be patient. And all I concentrated on was eating and running. Check your heart rate, it's not to go up, not down, just stay there. So by half marathon, a little past half marathon, I passed the girl for 5th. On 30K, I was already in 4th. And that was the place I had already decided it's now time to push. Now you can go fast. It's not going to happen that much anymore. So shortly after 33K, 32K, my husband was again, and he told me, I'm about 2 minutes away from 3rd. Only 2 kilometers away. It's like 34K, I passed the girl for 3rd. Now I had TV camera with me and a cyclist, and they were telling me I was going fast. And I actually saw the girl in front of me, she was 2nd. And I ran really, really hard. And it still seemed to take forever. But I passed her at like 37, 38K, and shortly after that was my all-excited and nervous husband again. And what did he say to me? Watch your step and keep eating. He had seen me fail there, and he was afraid that I would fall apart. Well, I didn't. I came in 2nd, which means I got vice European champion and German champion. I had goosebumps all the way. You can see it's not only from the cold, it's from the excitement as well. Only 1 year later, I had one more task to do. I still wanted to go under 9 hours. I mean, I had done under 10 hours in 2009 in Barcelona, so I went back to Barcelona, and I did arrive at 8:57, and that was at the age of 39, with 2 kids, working as a pharmacist, and, well, lots of up and downs. So you have to keep on your dream. Don't stop believing. Thank you.